All right. Now we've done our research with the customers, what type of customers we're going to go after. That was in the profile stage, right? Identifying the profiles of customers we want to go after. Now let's go forward and say that you finally got a meeting with this prospect, and this is it. This is the first meeting you have. Here, let's get some basic rules out of the way, because here's what I want you to do when you walk in. Now, rule number one is you got to learn the difference between open-ended questions and closed-ended questions. Again, most of you know this already. Do a quick recap. An open-ended question is a question that asks for more information. Can you tell me more about that? That's an open-ended question. A closed-ended question is one that can be answered with a single word or in the affirmative or negative, which is yes or no. Or sometimes yes, no, maybe. Get the idea? That's a closed-ended question. Now, let me give you an example of both how they play into your questioning behavior when you walk into a meeting for the first time. When you're talking to a customer, sometimes you want to gain information. That's when you use an open-ended question. Well, Mr. Customer, what types of products are you using today and how have they been performing for you? Notice how they have to fully answer that. Now, if I just ask, who are you using today? They might just say, Customer X. That's a closed-ended question. Doesn't lead you down any road in terms of finding out more about what's going on. Because the key here is to find out what's going on with this customer before we do our full presentation. So again, an open-ended question asks the customers to expand on what you want to know about their business. Can you tell me more about that? What have been your results with that product that you've been using? Closed-ended question. How long have you been using it? 2 years. Simple cutoff question. That's a closed-ended question. Are you happy? Yes. Okay, you're not going to get far with those questions, but they're good for confirmation. Closed-ended questions are good for confirmation. Would you be open to considering another vendor? Yes. See, that's a confirmation letting you know you can move forward with the presentation. Get the idea? Open-ended question gives you more information from the customer. Closed-ended question, you're seeking confirmation to move forward. Having said that, it's worth noting that as you're talking to customer, let them do the talking. The 80-20 rule applies here. 80% of the talking should be on their side. They should be doing it. You should be there just to ask questions. Now, this comes with a small warning. It doesn't mean that it's an interrogation. By that I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to constantly barrage them with questions and never really answer anything. It's always good to ask maybe 3 or 4 questions and then insert some information that you want to share with them. Again, don't go into the presentation, just share some information with them because that provides a give and take environment. If you're constantly asking questions, that becomes an interrogation or an interview and they don't like that. So what you want to do is try to create some type of ebb and flow in terms of conversation, but make sure that they're talking 80% of the time. Many years ago, my instructor gave me the best visual example I can remember. And I think I still use it today when I'm talking to a customer. It reminds me to remember to let them do the talking. He said, Victor, he says, when you're talking to a customer, I want you to imagine that you're sitting there at the desk or a table face to face. He says, now I want you to imagine there's a spotlight above both of you. He says 80% of the time that light should be on your customer because that's where the spotlight should be. And I've always loved that visual and I just wanted to share that with you. So keep that in mind. Let them do the majority of the talking. Also, as we're asking questions, we're trying to find out what the situation is. Who are they currently using? What are they currently doing? Get the idea. And what we're listening for are problems. Moments or points where they're unhappy with the product they're using or the service that they're using. Because once we start noting these down, so to speak, the problems that they're having, when we move it to the next step, step 3, which is the presentation, we'll be able to answer some of those problems or issues they may be currently having with their current vendor. So again, listen the majority of the time. Ask open-ended questions to get a lot of information. This information is supposed to give you information about their situation, and what you're listening for are problems that they're having. Again, you're looking for unhappy points. Points where there are situations where they're unhappy with the product. Maybe certain things aren't working the way they expected them to. Maybe the product has run its course and they're looking for a new product or a new vendor. Again, we're listening for problems because we're going to take those problems and when we move into the next step, which is the presentation phase, we're going to start incorporating some of these into that presentation to make it more impactful on the client. So what I want you to do right now is to begin thinking about what type of questions would you ask your customer. List out some open-ended questions that you would ask your customer to pull information from them to get an idea of what the situation is. And again, when we're asking these questions, we're listening for our problems they may be having with their current customer. So go ahead, list out situational questions, typically open-ended questions that you're going to ask the customer about what's going on with their business. Go ahead and do that right now.